Hi guys, how are you today? Today I want to show you some short crust pastry. Now this isn't just ordinary short crust pastry. I am out of baker's flour, I'm out of gluten-free flour, so I had to find something that was different. I want to use this today to make a beautiful tomato tart that you'll find in another recipe. I'll link it in the comments, but I needed pastry for this tart and I didn't want to go to the shop. So let me take you on a journey and make it with you. So first up, let's get cooking. Now preheat your oven. Grease a fluted tart. You know I'm not going to use that. I'm going to try and freeform this later. We'll see how it goes. Alright, first things first, it calls for almonds, but it also, second thing later, calls for, where is it? Coconut flour. Now, unfortunately, I don't have coconut flour, but what I do have is coconut that I can mill down into coconut flour. So I just want to skip to that step. I've got desiccated coconut here. I'm going to put my 80 grams in, and we're going to mill that down before we even get started. Hope I've got 80 grams. Perfect, 83, excellent. All right, let's just go back. We're gonna go back to the almond part. So it should be chopping those almonds down, 5 seconds, speed 10. Now I think we're gonna need 10 seconds for our coconut. Now, I didn't want to do it in with the almonds because obviously almonds and coconut have a very different texture. So I suspect that we won't get a really fine flour from the coconuts if I did it with the almonds. So let me spin it up to speed 10. Let's give this 10 seconds and see what it looks like. Alright, I do hope if you're cooking along at home you might actually have your coconut flour. You may not need to mill it, but if you don't have yours, you can mill it down. Beautiful, that looks awesome. I could scrape down the sides and do it again, but I'm not going to worry because it's going to chop again now with these almonds. Now it says blanched almonds. You guys know me, I don't do blanched, I just do everything's raw. Occasionally roasted, but particularly usually just raw. So in goes 150 grams of almonds. I'm actually really excited to try this tart. I've tried it with gluten-free flour and I've tried it with ordinary flour, the tomato tart. You know, it has then that flour taste. It has that gluten-free rice taste. So I'm excited to actually have it with the real ingredients. All right, put on the lid. 5 seconds, speed 10. You can hear how quickly that chops down and you can hear the texture change. Now I want to see if this is actually a flour or if it's still a bit chunky. Because I didn't use blanch, they are a bit more solid. Oh, that is a flour. I love that. It always surprises me. I thought I'd have to redo it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, scrape down the sides, never mind. All right, now it says ghee. I don't have ghee on hand today. We've used all our ghee. So I will often cook down butter into the ghee, which pulls out the milk solids out of it and it leaves you just with the oil. So instead, today we're just going to put butter in. So I think it'll work. We'll soon find out. But no, I'm fairly certain it's a good swap. I don't think I've got quite enough butter, so I will top it up with a little bit of coconut oil is my plan. Yeah, I'm 20 grams short. So I have my coconut oil just here. It's all solidified. It's quite cold these days, so it's gone hard. But I think, oh, a little bit over. Oh well. I think this will be fine. Okay, 80 grams of coconut flour. Check, we got that in. Okay, arrowroot starch. This is a funny one. People often go, oh, what's that? We use it in Brazilian cheese puffs a lot. And also gluten-free cooking regularly has this in it. It kind of acts a bit like corn flour does. It's a little different, but does have similar feel to it and clumpiness to it. So it's worth buying a cylinder of it and having a go definitely at the Brazilian cheese puffs and seeing what you think. It's a beautiful recipe, the cheese puffs. 1 teaspoon of salt. And by the way, you can't skip it out. So if you don't have it, don't try the recipe. It's not, I don't know that corn flour would swap in. I don't think it would. Sometimes it's called, you might see it called arrowroot or tapioca. So they do have a similar name. And you can either get it in the baking section in a yellow tub. Actually, I've got one to show you. Like this. Okay. Or better still, where the coconut creams and stuff are kept in the supermarket, on the bottom shelf under that is usually some specific ingredients, like you might find potato flour and things like that that are particularly used in Asian cooking, and that's where you'll find a clear bag with blue writing called tapioca starch or arrowroot powder in little brackets under it. They work similar, like the same, so you can use either of those. It is a bit cheaper if you can find the packet, okay, as opposed to the cylinder. 2 eggs, in it goes. There's our binder. and on with our lid. Okay, it's going to combine for 10 seconds, speed 4. You can hear it coming together. Transfer it onto a prepared tin and press into shape. So it's usually a pastry that presses out beautifully. You don't have to roll it and keep it like that. And you can see my butter, by the way, is in some chunks still. So I'm going to scrape down the side and hit the back arrow to do that again. Probably because ghee is liquid and my butter obviously is solid. But you can see it's very much like a biscuit texture in there. All right, let's hit the back arrow and get that butter into it. Won't take probably full 10 seconds. One bit of butter in there that does not want to go down and join in the fun. It's one little bit spinning around on top. What I'm doing instead of pressing it into tin today is I'm going to lay it between my 2 pieces of baking paper and roll it out. I'll show you that technique. Oh, that'll do. There's not much left there. I will show you how that looks. So excuse me while I just do some rearranging here to be able to do this for you. You actually then can cook it between your baking sheets, and then by the time you take it out of the oven in 5 to 7 minutes, you'll be able to peel the top layer off to put your food inside. So although I'm going to try and freeform this, I'm not sure how this is going to go. All right. Here is my 2 sheets of baking paper. Okay. I'm just going to put my dough out on one. And it very much feels like a biscuit-based dough, like something you'd make biscuits from. It's got that feel. But the other thing is coconut flour needs time to absorb the moisture in, so you will find that this will thicken as it sits as well. All right, it's a lot of dough. Wow. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let's see if I can do it or not. I may have to change plans with my tart. So I'm going to come back to that because I'm actually going to get started on the tart. So give me a moment. I'll come back and roll this for you, and we'll get the tart cooking at the same time so that they're all ready to go in the oven at the same time. Okay, let's roll this out now. So I'm just going to put this on top. I'm going to give this a push out. It's a lot of pastry in there. I'm surprised at how much there actually is. But what we're going to do is make it as big as we can so that we can lift the sides up, hopefully, to put a filling in. So we're going to make the filling in a minute. You can see how easy it is to push out the dough with between baking paper. We literally just go around the sides. Makes it so much easier. Okay. Just have a limited space to work with here. Alrighty. So what I want to be able to do in a minute, and this is going to determine whether I can put it in a tart tin or whether I can freeform it, which is actually what I want to do, but I'm not sure if it's pliable enough. I need to be able to take my top layer off. If I can take my top layer off, this will work perfectly. If I can't get my layer off the top, we're going to have to cook it and then fill it, which isn't quite what I want, but that's okay. Let's go and roll with it and see what happens. So let's see if I can take the top off this. Oh, beautiful. It's coming off. That's awesome. That means shortly I'll be able to freeform it, which is what I want. I am going to put it in a quiche tray to hold the base, just so that it's got some support up, but that will be awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'll just show you guys. I've got this, and it's really just to give me a circular shape. I'm not going to let it finish like that. I'm just going to slide this in, hopefully not make a mess. There you go. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a moment. All right, let's come back to the camera. I've pulled up the fresh tomato tart recipe. Now I want to actually start halfway through. So let me just get you guys here so you guys can see what we're doing. All right, so I'm skipping the pastry because I don't have, as I said, the flour for it. But I want to start down here. So normally this is our fresh tomato tart. It's a beautiful recipe. The filling is amazing. I've made my own ricotta to put into it. Okay, so I want to use this up, and I'm skipping the pastry because I just didn't have the flour for that. So we're going to start here with the garlic. Yes, we want to quit the other recipe. It's got 1 clove of garlic. Okay, in it goes. Obviously you could add more to that. Some onions. Now I'm fresh out of onions, so I'm actually going to just use onion powder. I love having that as a backup. It's kind of the, oops, I don't have anything, this will do kind of way we roll. Next ask for some chives. I don't have chives, so we're just going to skip them out. And we have put the lid on. So this is kind of making what ends up being a bit of a dip consistency. Although, if you've got fresh ricotta, I have seen in the past that anyone who has the really smooth ricotta from the shops, sometimes it gets too soft, and you'll need something like I've done today, where I put it in the quiche container to give it structure in the sides, because it ends up too runny. The homemade ricotta, even though it's not smooth, it works out perfectly. So I've done that one plenty of times, but I have heard those who use the store-bought smooth ricotta find it a little bit tricky because it can be quite liquidy. Okay, 250 grams of smooth ricotta. You can see that's chopped that down beautifully. Like garlic clove has disappeared. Oh, by the way, the bowl was dirty from the pastry. I didn't bother cleaning it. All right, in with 250 grams of ricotta. I'm not sure how much is left. I've taken a little bit off the corner for some different things along the way the last few, probably week. I think I made this a week ago. All right, in it goes. 230, perfect, that'll do. Okay, 40 grams of sour cream. Been looking for ways to use this up because I bought it for this recipe about 2 weeks ago. So perfect. All right. Put a little bit extra in. There we go. Nearly done. 1 egg. I have 2. All right, let's just see if I can squeeze one in. Must be the one for the brushing at the top that I've got left. Some pepper. My pepper's gone. Here it is. 2 pinches of pepper. And some salt. So remember, instead of salt, we use our favorite ingredient, our veggie stock, and we double it. So it says half a teaspoon. So I want to put in about a teaspoon. Gives it such a beautiful flavour. You won't regret doing that unless you put way too much in. Then it could be a problem. It could be very salty. All right, with the lid. And we're going to spin that and combine it up. So now it's going to combine. All right. Transfer to the centre of reserve pastry, leaving a 5 centimetre border. Quickly lift over the edges, pinching it slightly as you go. And then arrange some cherry tomatoes on top that are cut in half. And then we cook for 20 to 22 minutes. So let me just spin you back around to the pastry here. Bear with me for a minute. There we go. All right, so you can see it's just laying there, ready to go. And this was just to help it get a bit of structure. And you'll need that especially, oh, don't break, especially if you have smooth ricotta from the supermarket. Now I'm going to show you mine in there. You can see that texture. It's very much, it reminds me of a dip. It's got that dip consistency to it. By the way, if you did make the original recipe, and the original recipe has an egg yolk, in the pastry, you want to then throw that extra eggy white into this mix so that you're using it up. You don't want one leftover egg white. All right, so this is going now into here, like so. You can tell, Jessie, it's a bit like a dip. Looks yummy. And then we're just going to push it out to the shape we want, and then we're going to pull the sides over the top of this pastry. So let me show you how we finish it, and then you'll be good to give it a go at your own Thermomix. And when you do, I'd love to see your pictures. I love to see what you're making and how you're using your Thermomix. It inspires me to try new recipes and try the recipes that you're making as well. So I love to see what you're making. So please do share. And when you make these recipes and you follow these little step-by-step tutorials that I'm making, and you're learning the hints and tips, I'd love to know what your aha moments are. All right, there we go. So there's my center done. Now I've got to put some cherry tomatoes on. Actually, before I do that, let's fold the casing in. So this is where, oh, a little bit's breaking there. The great thing about this pastry though, even though it's breaking at the moment a little bit, is it is a push together pastry, so it doesn't particularly matter. So where can you guys see here? Let me just show you. So I'm just gonna go round and I'm gonna pinch it together as I go. So I'm gonna make it kind of like a flower, an upwards flower, or attempt to. You guys know though, let's be real, I'm not a fancy cook. I'm a practical cook. So, you know, it may not look like a flower by the end. All right, so now I've got my little, well, it actually looks like a money bag. I'm actually impressed with that. I won't take the paper out of it, so I'm just gonna leave the paper sitting there so that at the end I can remove that once it's cooked, because I suspect it's a little bit sticky. It would probably come off, but I'm not gonna play with it that much because I don't want to tempt fate. All right, now I'm going to chop my tomatoes in half. So I've got beautiful home-grown tomatoes today that need using. So I'm just gonna chop them in half. You guys see that? Yep. Got a bit of cream cheese on it, that's okay. And then we're just going to put them in wherever you want. So I'm just going to push them into it And you could have done it before you pulled the sides up on it, but I wanted it out so I could see the cherry tomatoes. So I'm just going to lay them around. I'm actually putting them on a bit of a diagonal angle just to see what they look like. That one's a bit not the same. And then we're done. This will go in the oven, as I said, for 20 to 22 minutes. They're supposed to do an egg wash on top, so I'll use that spare egg here to egg wash it. And it'll be ready to present at lunchtime. How cool is that? So really simple, really quick, not long. I reckon, what, 12 minutes at the Thermomix is all it takes to make yourself a beautiful fresh tart for lunch. And you know exactly what's in it. Today was with the almond pastry, so that's the short crust gluten-free pastry. But you by all means could use standard pastry or follow the recipe as it calls for. So there you go, guys. I will give you a picture. I'm sorry, you can't see very well with all the baking paper sticking up in the air. It actually looks a bit pretty though. Oh, except when it's sliding out. I will take a photo of it when it's done and share it with you guys. I do hope you've learned some hints and tips today about making pastries and trying tarts and ricotta and all those sorts of things. Do reach out if I can help you in any way with the Thermomix. If there's anything I can do to support you with your Thermomix, or you want information about getting one, you'll find my details around about here as well. But otherwise, I shall see you next time. Bye for now.